I always believed in true love until a heartbreaking twist shattered my world. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. One moment, I was standing there with Alex, my heart racing with joy. The next, reality hit like a thunderclap. The cafe was full, the chatter loud, and yet all I could hear was the deafening silence surrounding us as he dropped the bombshell. You need to know something. His voice was steady, but his hand shook. I could see it trembling, the fear behind those eyes I thought I knew so well. I felt my heart drop into my stomach, a cold hollow feeling that spread through me, gripping me tight. My hands felt clammy, my breath caught in my throat. What could he possibly say that would change everything? We'd been together for 3 years, bound to each other with dreams and laughter, warm nights spent wrapped in each other's arms, whispering sweet nothings under the stars. It felt like love, like home. But that day, the air shimmered with something ominous, the kind of electric tension that had my skin prickling with unease. Is it someone else? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. It sounded so small among the clinking of cups and the low hum of conversations. I wanted to scream, to run away, but my body remained frozen, rooted to the spot. I stared at him, horrified. Every fiber of my being was wrapped in anticipation and dread. His face twisted, anguish mixing with guilt, and for a second, the world blurred. Everything around us faded, the smell of coffee, the taste of sugar on my tongue. There was only him, my world, about to collapse around me. He cleared his throat, and my heart raced like a wild animal trapped in a corner. I never meant for it to happen. I met someone, it was a mistake, but each word felt like a dagger, stabbing through the hope I clung to. The air grew thick, suffocating me, and all I could do was watch as the love I thought was unbreakable shattered into a million pieces. The truth felt like fire spreading through my veins. I could hardly breathe. My body shook, and I could feel the eyes of the patrons on us, judging us, probing us with their gazes. I glanced around. Whispers danced through the air, shrouded in disbelief. A woman shook her head in disapproval. A man cast a pitying glance. I wanted to disappear, to sink into the floor. But I needed to know. Do you love her? The question hung between us like a guillotine, waiting to drop. He hesitated, and in that moment, the world stood still. The clamor faded, leaving only a painful heartbeat echoing in my ears, a sound so loud it drowned out everything else. I could see the struggle flickering behind his eyes. And it terrified me. No, his voice cracked. That's when I understood. This was not just a betrayal of love. It was an unraveling of everything I thought I knew. The promises, the whispered vows, all of it was slipping away. My chest tightened, and for the first time, tears blurred my vision. What if this was all a sick joke? My head spun with questions I couldn't voice. What do I do now? As the silence stretched, I could feel the weight of 1,000 thoughts smashing against the walls of my mind. Could we fix this? Was this the end? The knife of doubt cut deeper. And then, in that moment of stillness, he leaned closer, eyes wide and pleading. Please, don't walk away. We can talk, but could we really? Or was it too late? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button. It really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The sun filtered through the large windows of my apartment, casting a warm glow on the worn-out couch where I now sat, cradling a mug of cold tea. The remnants of yesterday lingered in my mind, a replayed video that echoed with the sound of heartbreak. I was alone, enveloped by the silence of the room, and despite the brightness outside, An overwhelming darkness loomed over me. It was hard to distinguish where the anger ended and the sorrow began. Each breath felt like a battle against an invisible tide that threatened to drag me under, and while I wanted to scream, I felt paralyzed by a myriad of emotions swirling chaotically in my chest. I should have been able to move past this, but every corner of my home whispered memories of Alex, and it sickened me. The clock ticked steadily, mocking my stillness. It had only been a day, but in that time, I had oscillated between fury and crippling sadness. I didn't just want to understand. I needed to know why he let it go this far, why he couldn't come to me before it had spiraled into a catastrophe. In a decision I knew deep down was reckless, I picked up my phone, scrolling through past texts, each one a haunting reminder of moments we shared. As I hovered over his name, a wave of doubt crashed over me. Should I reach out? Could anything he said ease the agony lodged in my heart? Just as I steeled myself to press call, my phone vibrated on the coffee table, making me jump. I glanced at the screen, and my heart leaped. A text from Lily, my best friend since childhood. "Hey, you okay? I'm coming over." Just the thought of seeing her made the edge of my pain feel a little softer. When she arrived, her presence filled the space with warmth that had retreated when Alex left. "You didn't have to come over, really." "I was okay," I lied, forcing a smile. "Oh, please." "You're a mess, and you know it," she retorted playfully, breaking the tension for a brief moment. She flopped down next to me, her eyes scanning my face with concern. "Tell me everything." So I did. I poured my heart out, the tears spilling as I recounted every detail. From the moment he spoke those life-altering words to the empty feeling that now consumed me. Lily listened intently, her hand resting on my back, a steadying reminder I wasn't alone. When I finished, breathing heavily as if I had just run a marathon, she took a deep breath of her own. "I can't believe he would do that to you," she said softly, but I could see the fire burning in her eyes. "You deserve so much better, you know that, right?" But the stinging truth was that I didn't really feel that way. In some twisted logic, I found myself lingering on the good times, weaving them into a tapestry that made the betrayal feel heavier. What if I couldn't move on? What if this was at me heart forever tarnished by the betrayal? As if reading my thoughts, Lily continued, her words gentle but firm. "You have to let yourself feel to grieve this. But don't let it define you. You have so much life ahead." In that moment, her words cracked through the fog slightly, illuminating a path I had yet to explore. Maybe I could start to find solace. Maybe it was okay to not be okay. But when she suggested we take a walk, I hesitated. A million excuses crowded my mind. What if I saw Alex? What would I say? Yet, as Lily took my hand, I realized that staying cooped up wouldn't change anything. With a deep breath, I stood, letting her guide me into the world beyond my front door. As we strolled through the park, the air filled with the sweet scent of blooming flowers, I began to let myself feel a flicker of hope. Children laughed and played, couples strolled hand in hand, and even though my heart still ached, I found comfort in the simplicity around me. Perhaps joy still existed out there, waiting for me to rediscover it. Just as we were about to head home, I spotted him. Alex was sitting on a bench, a pained expression etched across his face. I froze, my heart racing. It was the first time I had seen him since that fateful moment in the café. Lily squeezed my hand tightly, her eyes widening as she noticed the figure. "Do you want to go?" she whispered, but it was already too late. He looked up, and our eyes locked. For a heartbeat, time seemed to freeze until I saw a fleeting look of desperation wash over his face. Then, as if the air had been sucked from my lungs, he stood up, hesitant but moving towards me, each step heavy with unspoken words. "Please, can we talk?" he implored, his voice quiet but filled with urgency. A whirlwind of emotion stormed within me, and my heart pounded as I glanced at Lily, torn between the instinct to run and the desire for closure. Whatever he was about to say, I sensed it could change everything once more. And just like that, I stood at a crossroads, the future unraveling before me, a weighty silence enveloping us both as I tried to find my voice. The world around me fell away, the laughter of children, and the soft rustle of the breeze fading into the periphery. It was just us, suspended in a moment that felt dangerously charged with possibility and pain. I studied Alex's face, searching for something, an apology, a reason, a flicker of the love I once thought was unbreakable. But all I saw was uncertainty mirrored in his eyes, and a wave of anger surged through me, fresh and raw as if yesterday's heartbreak had just struck again. I don't know if I want to talk to you, I finally managed, my voice trembling as I fought to maintain my composure. The last thing I wanted was to crumble before him, to allow his presence to pull me back into a space I worked so hard to exit. I understand, he said, his gaze dropping for a moment, as if the weight of my rejection physically pressed against him. But please, we need to try. Just let me explain. Explain what? I shot back, my pulse quickening. How you decided on a whim to throw away everything we built. You let me think we'd be together forever, and then... My voice faltered under the flood of emotions I had been trying to keep at bay. His eyes met mine again, and they glimmered with a mix of regret and desperation. I never wanted it to come to this. I never wanted to hurt you. There's so much you don't know, so many things that pushed me into that moment. Before I could respond, something primal inside me, an urge to turn and walk away, began to take hold. Yet Lily's presence next to me kept me anchored, her fingers squeezing mine, grounding me as I grappled with the urge to flee. Just 1 minute, he pleaded, almost to himself, then continued, I let my fears cloud my judgment. I didn't believe I could ever be enough for someone like you. His words spiraled through me like blades. You mean to tell me that your insecurity is why you walked away? I couldn't suppress a derisive laugh, but it came out hollow and tinged with pain. You had it all, Alex. You had me. But instead of fighting for what mattered, you chose to run. Tears threatened to spill down my cheeks, and I turned slightly, focusing on Lily's reassuring presence. She squeezed my hand tighter, inches from stepping in, the embodiment of the support I so desperately needed. I'm not asking you to forgive me right now, he continued, voice cracking. I just want you to know the truth. In my head, I thought distance would protect you from my insecurities, my flaws. I thought it would be better for both of us. Better? I echoed, the word bitter on my tongue. You thought abandoning me would be better? He stepped closer, the pain radiating off him palpable now. I know I can't even believe I had that thought. I was stupid and scared, but I can't let you go without fighting for you. I'm here, Ellie. I'm so sorry. Hearing my name leave his lips sparked something deep inside me. It was the name he used lovingly, before everything fell apart. I felt my resolve beginning to falter, and as I looked into his eyes, I saw the very depths of his vulnerability. There was a sincerity in his voice that struck a chord, the kind of honesty that made me think of our happiest moments, yet also brought forth a tidal wave of sadness wrapped in betrayal. But as I stood there, vacillating between these conflicting feelings, something rose within me, an unexpected flicker of defiance. Stronger than my love was the realization that I needed to put myself first. I can't do this right now. I need time. My voice was resolved, yet shaky. You took that choice away from me when you walked out. Pain flashed across his face, and it struck me then how much I still cared. I envisioned all the future adventures, the quiet evenings, the warmth of his arms wrapped around me. But the pain had rendered those memories bittersweet. I wasn't sure they could ever be sweet again. Just don't walk away, Ellie. I'll wait. I will do anything to earn that time, he said quietly, desperation lacing his words. But just as I thought I could gather my thoughts enough to respond, an unexpected commotion erupted nearby. A young child, giggling uncontrollably, dashed past us, followed by a frantic-looking woman who was calling the child's name. A sense of chaos surrounded us briefly, pulling the focus away from our intensity. As I momentarily lost myself in the scene, Alex took a step back, visibly deflated, and my heart broke a little more for the both of us. The child's laughter was bright and innocent, so unlike the churning tumult of adult life. For a moment, the world's joy encapsulated our surrounding grief, but as quickly as it had faded, the sadness flooded back. Alex took a deep breath, and his uncertainty crept back in, tarnishing the moment. "At least think about it, okay?" he asked tentatively, and the desperation in his voice twisted something inside me. Before I could answer, he turned his back and walked away, disappearing into the crowd as if the world swallowed him whole. I felt the distance stretch further between every unspoken word and unresolved feeling, my heart echoing the silence of his absence. In that moment, something deep inside me shifted. I realized I was at a true crossroads. There were pieces of my heart still tangled with his, remnants that begged for closure, but there was also a whisper of self-preservation urging me to stay away. As tears blurred my vision, I felt as if I were once more slipping into that abyss of despair, clutching to the hope of a happier resolution that may not come. "Let's go home," Lily said softly, and together we turned, my thoughts swirling with an amalgamation of emotions I couldn't yet sort. But as we walked away, something caught my eye, a flicker of ash caught in the evening sun, and my heart stopped. Just beyond where Alex had stood, something glimmering object lay where he had been. My breath caught as I recognized it. It was my favorite bracelet, the one he had given me as a promise of forever. My heart raced, cradling the bittersweet mix of hope and heartbreak. What did this mean? And why did it now feel like the stakes had increased? I turned back instinctively, yearning to call out to him, but my voice remained trapped in my throat. In this tangled web, this was only the beginning of a battle yet to come, and I felt the weight of each decision looming ahead heavy, full of consequences that could shift everything I thought I knew about love. The weight of the bracelet felt far heavier than the delicate metal should have suggested. I cupped it in my palm, feeling the coolness against my skin, so out of place amidst the swirling heat of my emotions. It was a symbol of everything I once believed about us, a tender promise that seemed so distant now. Lily glanced back at me, her expression shifting from supportive to worried as she noticed my stillness. "Ellie? Are you okay?" she asked softly. I nodded, but the movement felt mechanical, as if my body were responding without consulting my mind first. Part of me wanted to explain the significance of what I held, the way this bracelet had once made the world around us shimmer with possibility, but words failed me. Instead, I stood frozen, staring at that small token that felt like a ghost reaching out from our past. "I need to go back," I finally said, the urgency of my decision taking even myself by surprise. The words spilled out before I could process them fully. "What? Back to Alex?" she exclaimed, her surprise giving way to concern. "Ellie, are you sure? You just told him you needed time." "I know," I said, struggling to find my own footing in the shifting ground beneath me. "But this bracelet, he didn't just give it to me for fun. It meant something. Maybe it still does." Lily searched my eyes, weighing my conviction against her instincts to protect me. "But what if you find him, and he's not ready? What if he hasn't changed? Then he'll know," I replied, resolve hardening in my chest. This was only the beginning of my journey to reclaim what I had lost, not just my feelings for Alex, but also my sense of self. With every determined step I took back toward where Alex had been, my heart raced, propelled by a footrace between curiosity and fear. I scanned the crowd, desperate to find a glimpse of him, but the sea of strangers was relentless in its flux. Each face I met felt like a reminder of the confusing interplay of love and hurt threatening to engulf me. The more I searched, the clearer it became that the crowd had consumed him whole, and with him, the resolve of my heart. I stood there, alone in the chaos, gripping the bracelet tightly, feeling the desperate flutter of hope morph into frustration. Suddenly, a familiar voice broke through the hazy. It was Alex. I turned, breath catching as I spotted him speaking to a group of friends further ahead. They were laughing, a lightness in the air that felt so at odds with the heaviness of my heart. But just as I started toward him, confusion clouded my thoughts. He had left, didn't he? So why did he look so carefree? How could he just carry on with life, smiling and joking, when I felt as though I was teetering on the edge of an emotional cliff? As I hesitated, a small child joined the group, and Alex effortlessly bent down, his face radiant as he offered the child a piece of candy. The joy on the child's face flickered warm through me, yet a darker pang gripped my heart. Here was Alex, seemingly unaffected by the gravity of our past. But then, something interrupted the cheerful scene. A deep voice intruded, the sound wrapping around me like a cold fog. You were sure quick to move on, weren't you? It was Ethan, our mutual friend, stepping between me and Alex with a challenging glare. My heart sank further, feeling exposed as I realized everyone in the vicinity had turned to witness this moment unfold, me vulnerability on display for all to see. Ethan's words hung in the air like an accusation, heavy with the weight of betrayal. I can explain, Alex exclaimed, his laughter faltering as he stood up, the innocent joy of the child replaced by the seriousness of the situation. He met my gaze, but the hurt in his expression screamed of betrayal, of misunderstandings built upon the rubble of our past. Ellie, wait. Let me talk to you, Ethan snorted. Talk? More like beg. His words dripped with disdain, but beneath his bravado, I could sense a current of concern. No one wanted to see our friendship fracture further, even if they didn't quite understand the intricacies of my heart's turmoil. I opened my mouth to respond, but the words clattered and stumbled, caught in the web of emotions swirling around us. With the bracelet still clutched in my palm, I took a few hesitant steps forward. Ellie, please, Alex called out again, taking a step toward me, his eyes pleading and searching as if he could reach into my heart and pull out the truth behind my struggles. What I said before, it was the truth. I need you to hear me out. It's important, important. I echoed, my voice louder than I intended, but the sting of his earlier words fueled the fire inside me. You walked away without a word, Alex. What could possibly make this better? Just listen, he begged. You deserve to know who I really am. I was terrified you'd see me for what I really am, a mess, and I didn't know how to face that. Maybe you should have thought about that before. I shot back, anger and heartbreak mingling in my chest, making it hard to breathe through. But just as I prepared to turn away, a hand reached out to touch my elbow, and the touch felt electric, an unexpected kindness that cut through the tension. I turned to see the young child from before, their innocent eyes wide with concern. Are you sad? They asked, their little voice filled with sincerity. My heart twisted at the sight. Here in this moment, amidst all the chaos, was a heartfelt reminder of how raw and real emotions could be. The child's unexpected kindness anew pulled at my heartstrings, grounding me for an ephemeral moment. Maybe it meant something. Before I could respond, I felt Alex's presence behind me, the weight of his unspoken words pressing into the silence hanging between us. The world felt suspended, paths unfurled and collided, the choices I made radiating outward like ripples on a pond. In that moment of stark clarity, everything hinged on my next words. Did I want to fight for us? To dig into the depths of our shared history and unravel the truth between us? Or was it easier, safer, to walk away? Before I could decide, a blood-curdling scream shattered the moment. The joyful laughter turned into panic, and my heart lurched as I glanced back at the children. One child had fallen, their face twisted in shock and pain as they clutched their arm, and just as the commotion erupted, I caught sight of a flash of movement out of the corner of my eye, the glimmer of something bizarre, something dark just beyond the laughter. My stomach dropped as fear curled around my heart. The world spun on its axis, and it felt as if everything I knew had shifted beneath me. Unresolved, unspoken, the stakes had suddenly risen to an unimaginable height, and the choices I had to make before the dust settled lingered perilously in the air. My heart raced with this sudden eruption of chaos, a stark contrast to the warmth I had felt moments before. The child's scream echoed, a haunting reminder of how fragile moments could shift in the blink of an eye. Panic engulfed the crowd, and I felt myself being pushed back as parents rushed toward their children, instinctively shielding them from danger. "Ellie, we should get out of here!" Lily shouted, her voice barely cutting through the cacophony. But I was paralyzed, eyes locked on the scene unfolding before me. Adrenaline coursed through my veins as I turned back to Alex, a silent question hanging between us, frozen by fear and uncertainty. He took a step closer, concern etched across his face. "Are you okay?" His words were meant for me, but I could see the tension in his posture as he cast glances toward the chaos. I could sense the conflict raging within him, to a desire to reassure me while a primal instinct to protect kicked in. I need to help," I managed to stammer, but what that help entailed was still a mystery to me. Could I make a difference when the world felt unhinged, when emotions were spiraling out of control all around us? The helplessness was suffocating. Before I could move, Ethan pushed past me, determined. "Stay here, Ellie. You'll see what happened," he shouted, disappearing into the throng of people that swarmed the fallen child. I wanted to protest, but my voice was lost in the surging ocean of humanity. Then, amidst the chaos, I caught sight of the child's mother rushing forward, her face a mask of desperation. Panic clawed at my throat. I felt the weight of everything collapse around us. This wasn't a moment for heartbreak or unresolved feelings. It was about a child, a fragile innocence threatened by an unpredictable world. As if a flame had sparked in my chest, I propelled myself forward, my feet carrying me through the throng until I reached the child's small boy, tears streaming down his face as he clutched his arm. Instinct kicked in, and without thinking, I knelt beside him, taking his uninjured hand in mine. "Hey there," I said gently, striving to project calm amidst the storm. "What's your name?" "Tyler," he whimpered, his small frame trembling. I glanced at his arm, an angry bruise already blossoming beneath the surface. A rush of empathy washed over me, and my heart ached for this little boy forced into a moment of fear. A sudden flood of people swarmed in, adults and paramedics, all eager to help. Their uniforms were as small islands of calm in the waves of chaos. Alex appeared back at my side, having squeezed through the crowd. "Ellie, what can I do?" His voice broke through my focus, grounded in urgency. "Just be here," I said, not completely sure where my instincts were leading me. I needed him as much as I needed to focus on Tyler. I glanced up to see Lily hovering just behind, her expression torn between fear and determination. As paramedics took over, I felt a moment of loss in the rush of urgency. In navigating my heart, I had forgotten there was a world out there, one filled with tangible pain and uncertainty that had absolutely nothing to do with my own emotional turmoil. A flood of guilt washed over me. How had I let the fight for my own feelings blind me to the struggles around me? But even as I grappled with the weight of my own heartache, a moment of kindness unfurled in the midst of despair. One of the paramedics knelt beside Tyler, reassuring him with a soft smile, their tender voice cutting through the chaos. "You're going to be okay, buddy. We're here to help you." The bond between the paramedic and the boy struck a tender chord deep within me. This wasn't just about me or Alex. Moments like these exist in shades of humanity where connection reigns supreme. I reflected on all the times I had been blind to the pain of others, too fixated on my own heartbreak. Suddenly, a familiar rustling sound caught my attention. I looked toward the crowd and saw Lily moving closer, her hands trembling slightly, but her expression conveyed determination. She approached me with an urgency that made my pulse quicken. "Ellie," she said, leaning in closer, her voice edged with something I couldn't quite place. "I saw something. Something's not quite right." I overheard that boy's mom. There's a lot going on that we don't know about. What are you talking about? Anxiety twisted in my stomach, but before I could press her further, a loud thud reverberated through the air, drawing everyone's attention. Ethan, now back in view but pale as a sheet, stood frozen a few paces away. The crowd had grown silent, the moment heavy with dread. I followed his gaze only to find a small group of individuals gathered in a tight circle, hushed conversations ricocheting through the air. What happened? I whispered, darting to Ethan, who stood between me and the gathering, his face drenched in concern. There was a fight, Ellie, he said, his voice barely more than a rasp. Some kind of altercation just before the child fell. People are saying it was gang-related. The weight of his words slammed into me, fierce and devastating. In an instant, the horror of the world we inhabited loomed larger. It wasn't just heartbreak and lost love I was grappling with. The dangers lurking beneath the surface were far more pervasive, threatening the fabric of everything I held dear. My heart raced, the gravity of the situation pulling me under. I could feel the echoes of unresolved memories, and doubts tighten their grip as I searched for Alex, who stood there watching, his gaze intense, caught in the riptide of fear and realization. The world had shifted yet again, and the stakes weren't just emotional. They had become a matter of life, of safety, of the connection I thought I had lost. Before I could process the implications, Lily's hand found mine, squeezing it tightly, tethering me back to the present. And above the murmurs of confusion, a voice rang clear, a distant echo of laughter now shadowed by a new understanding of fear. The choices ahead would be shaped by the intertwining destinies of love, loss, and the sheer unpredictability of life. My heart clenched as I gazed at Alex, questions swirling, truths waiting to collide in a fierce storm. Ellie, he called softly, and as our eyes met, I knew there was no turning back. The tether of our past had become a lifeline in chaos, and I stood on the precipice of a path that would change everything. But would I have the strength to walk it? Would I have the courage to finally confront everything unresolved between us? And just as I opened my mouth to speak, a sudden flash of movement caught my eye, an ominous figure slipping away into the throng of chaos. My gut twisted with instinctual dread, sparking a fear born from something deeper than just the tumultuous emotions swirling around me. It was all happening too fast, moments intertwining like tangled threads, each choice sharper than the last. And beneath it all, a shocking revelation lingered just out of reach, threatening to change the course of my life forever. The weight of uncertainty pressed down on my chest as I turned to Ethan, a storm of thoughts swirling like a tempest in my mind. "Did you see who that was?" I stammered, my voice barely a whisper. He shook his head quickly, glancing towards the dispersing crowd, but his worry deepened the lines on his forehead. "No, but whoever it was, it looked out of place. Like they didn't belong." I felt a knot of fear tighten in my stomach. This meant the threat wasn't just a distant shadow anymore. It was here, alongside us, slipping through the cracks of our fragile reality. As the paramedics worked tirelessly to comfort Tyler and his mother, Alex moved closer. I could feel the heat radiating from his body, a silent warmth amidst the encroaching chill. "Ellie," he said, his voice low, "I don't think we're safe here. If this is gang-related, they might come back for more." The implication sent a shiver down my spine. My fingers instinctively entwined with Lily's, grounding me as I fought against an overwhelming wave of anxiety. The vibrancy of the festival, the laughter, the music, the joy seemed smothered by the cloud of chaos hovering over us. "I can't just leave," I murmured, torn between a primal urge to protect myself and an undeniable drive to help those who needed it. I glanced back at Tyler's pale face, still crumpled in fear as the adults buzzed around him. This boy, this child caught in a web far too big for him, couldn't be left behind. Before I could say anything more, a sharp voice cut through the lingering tension. "Ma'am, we need the area cleared," a police officer shouted, waving his arm to disperse the crowd. "Give the paramedics space." My heart sank. This was no longer just about feelings, it was about survival now, about escaping an invisible threat. "We need to go," Alex urged again, his eyes scanning the surroundings as if the shadows would reveal something sinister lurking behind the faces of the onlookers. I hesitated, torn apart by the clashing desires to stay and protect Tyler and the instinctual warning wailing within me. "What about the boy? We can't just leave him." "Ellie, they're professionals," Ethan said gently, stepping closer. "They know what they're doing. We need to think about this about us right now. If there's a possibility of violence, we shouldn't stick around." His voice, usually so steady, trembled slightly, revealing his own fear. A flicker of understanding ignited inside me. He was right. As much as I wanted to shield Tyler from the horrors beyond his comprehension, I also had to be aware of the dangers that threatened not just me but those I cared for. "We'll come back," I promised, my voice firm even though doubt gnawed at my heart. "I swear we will." With a heavy sigh, I drove a surge of determination through me, as if trying to summon the remnants of my bravery. Lily nodded, and though fear glazed her expression, I could see a glimmer of hope behind her concern. "Okay, let's go." Together, the three of us moved quickly, shuffling away from the chaos, the sound of sirens growing louder. The crowd thinned, revealing stoic faces still processing the shock. Each step seemed to echo a heartbeat louder and faster, matching the rhythm of my racing thoughts. When we finally slipped outside the chaos of the festival grounds, a sudden sense of surreal calmness enveloped me, but it was fleeting. Reality pushed through the thick undercurrent of relief. I didn't feel safer out here. If anything, I felt more exposed. "Maybe we should split up," Ethan suggested, his voice tense. "Are you kidding?" I shot back, grabbing his arm. "We stay together." "Fine," he relented, eyes darting nervously. "But we need to find a place to hide. To plan. This isn't over yet." Before we could settle on a decision, the sharp sound of a gunshot pierced the night air, loud and unforgiving. Instinctively, I flinched, gripping Lily's hand harder, my pulse quickening as I turned to see a figure in a dark hoodie sprinting past us, panic in their eyes. A moment of silence followed, an eerie stillness tinged with horror, and then the sound of feet pounding against the pavement filled the air. "Run!" Alex shouted, and we all took off, hearts pounding in unison as we raced into the dimly lit alleyways surrounding the festival. I couldn't stop looking back. Somehow, amid the fear, I felt tethered to the chaos, the children, the innocence, the shifting tides of our fate. It was a world filled with heartache, yes, but also glimpses of resilience. As we turned a corner and stumbled to a halt, panting, my mind spiraled into a maelstrom of thoughts. What dark forces loomed over us? What truths were hidden in the shadows that we could not yet comprehend? The specter of love intertwined with peril, the threads woven deeply into my heart. Waiting for clarity. As I turned to Alex, searching his eyes for reassurance, I felt a jolt of déjà vu wash over me like time had folded on itself. But before I could voice the swirling confusion, something shifted in his gaze, drawing my attention to a mark on his wrist, hidden beneath the cuff of his sleeve. An insignia symbol that made my blood run cold. "Ellie, we have to go," he murmured urgently, but my eyes widened in horror, realization dawning like the slow creeping of dawn through a dark abyss. The truth was unraveling faster than I could process, a shocking revelation. A connection I never saw coming. It tied back to everything that had once made my heart whole, now splintered with nothing but uncertainty hanging in the air, threatening to consume us all. The weight of the revelation hung heavily in the air between us, an unseen specter casting a long shadow. I felt as if the ground had been pulled from beneath my feet, leaving me suspended in a dizzying void where hope